When you're watching film with Will, I can't talk. When you're watching film with Will, when you see the sacks, how are you seeing him process now? Are you seeing him recognizing, or how to maybe get the ball out faster, or is the process improving at this point?
It's improving in some respects, and then sometimes you kind of open up another problem, right? So instead of holding on to the ball too long, now he's kind of trying to scramble out of the front of the pocket. And, we're really kind of we've talked about in here helping our tackles and things like that. So now you don't get the wide edge rush. So those guys are kind of just sitting there. And I think there's a learning process of the ends retracing in pro football. And in college football, you're probably getting out, and even in a lot of the preseason games. But, Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson and those guys and their level of retrace. So he had 2 of those on last Sunday, and there's a couple of those, but he's sitting there going, okay, I don't have 1, I don't have 2. All right, now I'm trying to get the ball out, and there's going. So we just keep kind of working through that process of feeling the pocket, knowing the progressions, knowing where the ball goes, and managing that. He has an awareness of it, and then it just kind of, now we're kind of working on a new thing of, where the rush lanes are and those kind of things. So it's an ever-growing process.
Have you seen guys in the league mature in terms of pocket awareness? How much can a guy get better at that?
I think a guy can get a lot better. I can't say I've got a ton of specific examples off the top of my head right now, but there's so many parts to it, right? You see some guys that get hit so many times early, that then all of a sudden they become skittish in the pocket. I don't think he's not that, you know what I mean? Where you're all of a sudden, David Carr or somebody like that comes to mind, of those guys that got hit so many times. So for him, and for all of us, I think it's just improving the pocket all the way around him. So improving the help on the edges, kind of keeping that center of the pocket solid, and then him getting more and more reps and more feel of getting the ball out.
When you've looked at those plays that he's tried to escape out of the front of the pocket,
Yep.
What is the preferred decision that you guys have for him there when he doesn't have a place to go with the ball?
There's 2 parts. So kind of like part of it is on front recognition a little bit, but you can kind of speak out of both sides of your mouth at this point of, I also haven't coached many quarterbacks that are as athletic as Will, so he's kind of got that ability, to kind of scramble out that maybe I haven't had, and, I'm not sure Brian has had as much either. So there's 2 parts. You don't want him looking at the rush, but there's a front recognition part of, I know these are kind of the rush patterns that come out of this, and where are my protections going? So say I'm sliding to the right, I can normally find a pocket out to my left that way. But you don't want him staring at the rush and doing those kind of things. So you don't want to sit there and say, oh, now you're looking, and we want his eyes down the field. And it's just kind of a feel thing. And more often than not, we just want him to throw the ball or throw it away, especially on 1st and 2nd down.
You notice, Ridley, Callahan talked about kind of like him being moved around, being more involved. Have you noticed him just start to really take on a role as the dominant receiver here?
Oh, yeah, I think so. He's done a great job kind of finding all the different spots. He's played in the slot. We motion him a bunch now. And, if I'm another team, I'm taking him away. That people are going to try to take him away, and they try to double him. And, Minnesota a couple weeks ago had a plan. So the more you motion him, the more you move him around, it's harder to have those doubles, especially on 1st and 2nd down, and still play all your run fits and all those rules when we kind of can put them in conflict. So he's really kind of taken that role as the number 1, that we all thought he was. And it's been really nice to see him kind of just keep growing in the offense, and his route trees kept expanding, and Will's getting more comfortable, and Mason was getting comfortable with him. And I think everybody, as time has gone on, we kind of just getting a more feel for each other.
And I know with him, getting that 1K is really important to him, and being that, that top level receiver. How do you balance it? Like, as a play caller.
What, 370 over 6, I think? Is that the number? I think it's 370, So the number 1 thing is always just, number 1 goal is to win, right? That's what it is. And we know probably getting Calvin the ball helps us win. Now, if they want to take him away and kind of have all these crazy coverages, take him out, we got to plan for where the ball has got to go somewhere else. But we obviously want him to get those numbers, and we think just by playing what we've done kind of the last 4 or 5 weeks of, we move him around, we get him to different spots in the progression, and then it all kind of has worked itself out recently.
What were your thoughts of Pollard before he got here? Maybe what's impressed you the most about him?
I would say we played him on Thanksgiving a couple years ago when he was still in Dallas, and I was at the Raiders. He took a kickoff back, and it was like, oh my God, watch that guy run. And then he was kind of getting some other plays, where he was kind of out of the backfield, but they were rotating him, and he was kind of in this rotation. And then last year, he started off pretty strong, and then he got hurt, and so you're like, all right, what's the deal? But you watch the tape, and it was impressive. I would say he's a 3-down back. He can pass pro, he can catch, he does everything, and then he's such a great dirty runner. Like that one where he ended up bouncing out. We were backed up, and he bounced out to the backside. Like, there's a lot of guys that at some point they got those hands on him, and they kind of start to push it and go forward, and he really never gives up on a play. So that kind of attitude or mindset for him of he gets in there, and he's always kind of finishing runs forward for not the biggest guy. So those things have been, I'd say, before we ever got pads on and really got in live action. We don't tackle to the ground very much out here, so watching him finish runs forward have been really impressive.
That's good.
Appreciate it, Nick. Or as a defense?
Yeah, I mean, the defense goes the way Jeff and really Big Sweat plays inside. The way Jeff has been playing of late, people can't stop him. And, he started off the same way. We figured out ways to get him some more matchups and things that we're doing. But Jeff's a hell of a player. He's one of the best players in the National Football League, and we're blessed to have him.
How have you seen that relationship? You mentioned Simmons and Sweat. How have you seen that relationship just kind of like mature and develop into, a one that's producing results?
You know what? Like, Sweat calls Jeff Big Bro. And, one thing about this unit, and one thing especially about the front, they're tight-knit. And Jeff loves the people in the room. They have a lot of fun. They're serious, but then they don't take themselves serious. And I think that Sweat, he idolized Jeff, and Jeff appreciates Sweat and where Sweat can go. If both of them play well, they know they both will have success. And I think it's a great relationship.
I guess like for you when I guess the Monty situation happened close to kickoff, how Daryl step in and do, and maybe how's Daryl done since he's been here?
Well, we found out early he was, Monty was sick. He had called our trainer, Todd, and was like, he wasn't feeling good. So when he came in, I mean, when you saw him, I mean, he was pale white. So we knew, we had to adjust. One thing about Worley is I've coached Worley before. Worley has started for me last year in numerous games. And when we acquired him, I know what type of player he was. And he understands the defense. He plays a certain way. So when things unfolded, it was, hey, next man up. And that's what we've been doing all year. You believe in the training of the coaches. You believe in the scheme. And long as the guys play in there and play tough, they'll have success. So, every guy on the roster, I believe in him. When they get the opportunity, they just have to take the advantage of the opportunity.
Murray, subtle position switch.
Yeah.
Can you kind of take us into that and just how it led to what's probably his best game as a Titan?
Yeah, I mean, we've always said that, he could potentially play the Mike. Like, anytime you draft a linebacker, you always want to draft will linebackers and move them to Mike because of the skill set, the athletic ability, and he came in as a will. We've had guys that could play Mike prior to, the move. Jack goes down and, you want to get Bake on the field, Jerome, but Jerome isn't a true Mike. He's really a will linebacker. So, Frank Bush and I, we said, hey, man, let's put him in the middle. And being in the middle takes pressure off him as well. So you saw a guy that played with more confidence. You saw a guy that didn't have the stress, the things moving, and he played a hell of a game, just, playing in between the hashes, coming downhill, and obviously he sort of picked that he had and he had an opportunity to make another one. So I think it was a good change. And kudos to Frank Bush getting him prepared like he's been doing with all the linebackers, and we'll go from there.
When Cheeto's back, whether it's this week or not, you envision doing some kind of a rotating to keep all three outside guys in the mix?
So we'll see what happens. For me and for this defense, and you've seen it all year, we play the hot hand. And the guys that we're confident in playing, we'll put them out there. And if he's hot, he'll stay out there. If he's not, the other guys will play. So for us, it's about what's best for the team. And if he's the best option for the team, he'll play.
Problems does this Commander's offense present, particularly with Jaden Daniels?
Well, Daniels is a hell of a quarterback. Obviously, he started off extremely hot. He's a dual threat. I think Cliff does a great job with the tempo. They're in and out the huddle. They mix their personnel groupings in. And then they've done a good job of running the ball. You have the zone read run game with the quarterback, and then their running backs have played downhill football. And then also you got to take care of McLaurin. He's a hell of a receiver. I think this offense is a really good offense, and we got to come out there and we got to play physical, our brand of football, and attack them so they don't attack us.
About the players, about the team, but what's it like for you, I guess, when you go kind of back home? You went to high school, raised there, played college there, played NFL career there. What's it like for you, and what would it be like having extra people there?
For me, it's not about me. All I care is about going back to Washington and getting a win. All I care is about this defense having success. Nothing that we do here from this organization has anything to do with me. So as long as we go back there and we play well and these guys get on the plane and have the same enjoyment that they had coming off the plane in Houston, that's when I'll be happy.
People there?
We'll see. I don't know.
What were your memories like growing up there?
Oh, I mean, obviously, man, I love being from the East Coast, being from the Maryland, DMV area. A majority of my family's there. I have great memories. High school was right down the road. My grandmother lived right across the street from the stadium. I grew up probably 10 minutes away from it. So, just being from there is a hell of a thing, and I represent it well.
Have a great holiday.
Thank you.
All right, appreciate it.
First of all, happy Thanksgiving to you all. A lot to be thankful for. Just to recap the last week's game before we get into the Commanders. That first kickoff was tough. I thought we did a good job, penetrating and being physical and, playing with good speed there. We had a free runner at the point of attack. We got to do a better job finishing. And then our safeties just folded a little too early. They got to trust the guys inside and maintain leverage on the ball. But I did like the way that we came back and covered the next 3 kicks. And, we got them inside the 20 twice and then forced a penalty on the other. But Stoney probably had the play of the game in his last punt. Really needed a big punt out of him and to flip the field, which we drew a penalty there as well, which ultimately led to the safety, which was big. And then Jaquan's got to do a better job, fielding that ball, and something that can't happen. And still have the utmost faith in him and know he's going to do a better job. But he's just trying to make a play there. Comes up on one of those short punts and. Probably one he should fair catch, but he saw the green grass in front of him. And, he's trying to make a play before he secures the catch. So something he's got to learn from. And, at the end of the day, it was good to see Nick, finish with 3 field goals over 50 yards. And I don't know if there's ever been a guy in NFL history to be over 40 that hit from over 53 times. So props to him. And, it's good to see him continue to do his thing.
How far did Cedric stray from fundamentals on his tackle opportunity and the kickoff return?
That's tough. That's Cedric's first play in the NFL. He didn't get any plays in preseason. Fundamentals. We just got to wrap up, be more physical, and play with great finish. And something he's got to learn from. He responded, and I like the way he came back, finished with the tackle later on I think it was the next kickoff. So we'll learn from that and like where he's at and where he's gonna be a good football player for us.
There was a punt where Jaquan Jackson got fielded. It was like at the 4-yard line. Do you tell him before going out there, like, hey, man, don't field it, or does he have the freedom? How's that work?
That's up to him. That was a part of the game. It wasn't necessarily a plus 50 punt where more times than not you're going to fair catch it, but that's a time that he relied on. He took had trust in the guys inside to hold up, and we got to do a better job up front and blocking, because if we get one of those guys block, he could be out the gate. So. You look back and it's coulda, woulda, shoulda. It's probably one that you should have let bounce and go into the end zone. But end of the day, he's trusting the guys up front to set up the return for him, and that we got to do a better job of blocking.
So that all fielding inside of 10, that's their discretion.
Yeah. I mean, you can see we've been hit. Flip the script. We've had teams return inside the 10 that, on us. So. It's a time you can catch them sleeping, and he was trying to catch them sleeping, you could say, but we got to do a better job blocking.
Been consistently good for you from beginning to end this year.
Yeah, I said his name last week is Luke Gifford. Like where he's at, playing at a Pro Bowl level. I think he's top 10 in tackles from a special team standpoint, and we really haven't covered that many kicks, but he's continuing to dominate. It's you talk to all these special teams coaches for the games, and it's one name that constantly is brought up is Luke Gifford. Like, holy cow, the kid's a football player. So on top of that, obviously Nick Folk, and then Morgan Cox, who he's a guy that's just very consistent and does a great job snapping and protecting. And I think he has a career high for 3 tackles this year on punt covers. So, those guys have done a good job.
You talk like you look at Jaquan's return potential from deep the same way you look at other teams' potential from returning deep. You look at those the same way based on the results you've had this year, or you scale it based on their successes and your lack of success?
Yeah, I mean, we got to do a better job in coverage, one, and then we got to do a better job blocking. So to scale it and compare, apples to orange, I'm not sure, how to answer that, but we just got to do a better job. And, Q's, you can argue he needs to make a better decision in that particular point, but he's going to rely on those guys up front to block for him, and he's trying to make a play at that particular point. And, we had a conversation on the sideline where he muffs that punt, the prior one, and so he's trying to make up for it the very next play. So we'll learn from it.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Colin.